Hello, everybody. Good day to you. Welcome to another episode of Enso Build. Now we have here with us Mitch from Contango and Nanette, who is our dev rel at Enzo. This is Lindy here, who is leading BD at Enzo, and I'm your moderator for today. So if you do not know about Enso or you do not know about Contango, I welcome our representatives to give you maybe a quick overview, introduction of yourself, your role, and what your project is about. Maybe we can start with our guest, Mitch.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Mitch from Contango, also leading BD efforts here. Um, been into crypto since 2021, I would say, around DeFi summer times, and then yeah, been working full time at Contango. And I think in a few minutes also Kamel. Well, speaking of the devil, just joined.
Hello.
Hey there, I was just we're just doing some intros. Yeah, so as I was saying, joined Contango, been working there for time for the last 3 years and a half. And here we got Kamel, who's one of the co-founders. We started Contango, yeah, around 2022 January, working on fixed rates, but then eventually pivoted to what you guys know as of Contango today, a looping platform. And I will leave it up to Kamel to introduce himself.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Kamel. I'm one of the co-founders at Contango. Um, yeah, we started at East Global, which has a hackathon. Maybe you heard about this one. And this is where we got our first funding, and we kept moving on looping with fixed rates. And as Mitch said, now we are mostly known for looping on variable rates, which was released like maybe I think like 14 to 16 months ago. And yeah, we're working with you guys for a while now, and we're super excited to share this time with you.
And by the way,
Um,
Lindy, it's nice to finally like see you, like at least
really?
with a camera on. Like we've been chatting a lot, and
Yeah, correct. We've been chatting a lot on TG, but we haven't really seen each other. So
yeah,
yeah,
and
so I was really curious. I mean, we all know that Contango. I mean, for me, I came from TradFi, so to me, the definition of Contango is something to do with the forward price and the spot price. But then I noticed that maybe your Contango is a different Contango, referring to the dance. So just wanted to ask that in case maybe our audience are wondering as well, because your I noticed the emoticon that you're using in your Twitter and your socials is of a dancer. So which contango are you actually?
no, you're right. I mean, the word contango comes from the financial lingo, right? When the markets are in contango, and the forward price is higher than the spot price.
Correct.
But because it has this Spanish flavor to it, right? This tango thing, so there's a dance component, and the emoji was the perfect fit.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to Nana, who is Deborah Enzo.
So hi everybody, nice to meet you with cameras on. My name is Nenad. As Lindy said, I'm Devrel here at Enso, and I like to say that I used to be an engineer. Now I'm building examples and docs and videos and that kind of stuff. I'm more focused on like developer experience and stuff like that. And actually, I really wanted to ask the very same question: where does the name Contango come from? Is it the financial lingo, or was it related to dance? So I think that's pretty cool.
But to be
I
fair, like it all occurred around a beer in Barcelona, where basically we had a shitty name called Vanilla Protocol during the hackathon. And then, because we were trading cash and carry is mainly happening when the market is on Contango. And Mitch was like, "Yeah, just use the word Contango for the protocol." I was like, "Okay, done."
Yeah. Yeah, like all great ideas usually happen over a beer or something like that. Cool. Yeah, you did mention like the main thing about Contango is looping with physical asset delivery. So could we unpack looping for our listeners a little bit, like for people who are not that deep in that lingo?
Yeah, I can take this one. So looping is actually, I would say it's the first activity in DeFi, right? When DeFi summer got started and there were spot markets and lending market, users were like, what shall we do with this? And Compound started their comp incentive program, and people wanted to farm these rewards. And they thought, okay, maybe if I deposit something on Compound, borrow against it, and with the borrow capital, I kind of swap it back to the initial one and deposit again. I can lever up. And so that's what people do. They start, getting this directional exposures, maybe to some assets if they wanted to long ETH, or maybe if they just wanted to farm comp tokens. And since then, looping kind of became what we call the crypto way of trading because it's really DeFi native, right? You don't have to go to a perp exchange where you have some counterparty risk, or there's, I don't know, a GLP vol like on GMX, or there's an order book or in CFI. There's like real DeFi stuff where you create a variable rate position on money markets. And I'll stop here. I'll keep it like high level, and then we can deep down.
Right. Yeah, it sounds like when you hear about it, it sounds like a process that is sort of like lengthy and demanding. So in a universe without Contango, like what kind of effort would it take from me as a DeFi user to get the same effect?
Yeah, good question. So basically, if you want to do it manually, it's super lengthy, as you said. It's super time consuming and gas intensive, especially on mainnet, because you have to go on, say, Aave, deposit
Mm.
ETH, borrow USDC against it, swap those USDC on a DEX for ETH again, deposit that ETH. And this is just one loop. Let's say you want to get levered, I don't know, 5x. At current LTV ratios on Aave, you would need to do about 9 loops. So that's 9, times your personal time and your gas fees. And that's why like some initial apps like DeFi Saver or Instat app were born right away. And they start using flash loans, this feature called flash loans, because I think a lot of people in DeFi know, but it's always useful to explain. It's basically this function that allows you to borrow whatever money you want as long as you repay it in the same transaction. And so instead up or DeFi Saver, they said, okay, there's a nice way to build a leverage position. Instead of doing all these multiple loops manually, what you could do is, you flash borrow like the initial quantity you have for your full position, swap it with your initial margin for what we call the base asset, like the principal asset that you want to long, and you deposit that on the lending market to borrow against it and repay the flash loan. So it sounds complicated, but it really is like a simple transaction on in DeFi.
Yeah, eventually it boils down into one.
And a
Yeah, go ahead,
question
Lenny,
for
please.
yeah, question for Nanette because Enzo is about shortcuts, right? And then we just went through a whole lengthy process. So could you maybe touch on how you can shortcut this? Because Enzo is all about shortcuts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So all of these steps that Mitch just described, we can think about them as transactions you have to send. So you need to interact with some contracts and go about it with the low level solidity stuff. Or we can think about it as like a sequence of steps that you can describe pretty much in a natural language and have that somehow executed. So this is where Enso comes in. Enso takes those DeFi ideas, let's say, about moving from one position to another and then repeating that, or entering a vault and repeating that. And in the end, you can have like a really lengthy, like 5 to 10 steps in there that boils down into a single transaction you can send on chain. As Mitch said, in the end, it's it's a simple transaction when you think about it. So the bundle API is actually the piece of tech that enables this, because you need to arrange those steps to achieve one iteration of the loop and then repeat to have that 5x or 10x leverage. Now, Mitch or Camel, did I get this one right?
I think we need to bring another concept there. So I think the process that was previously mentioned is like manual looping. So yes, you could like have recursive action of I land, I borrow, I swap, I land, I borrow, I swap, and you do that 9 times. But the way that we reach the same goal is by using flash loans. So you flash loan some money, that's the money you lend, then you borrow some money, you swap it for the lending asset, and then you repay your flash loan. And this is how we reach exactly the same leverage, and this is much more gas efficient, and you do not have to do multiple steps. Here, not that you need to swap between the asset that you have borrowed to the asset that you're lending. In these specific examples, you could reverse the steps differently. And where Enso is really powerful is that instead of going on DEXs and swapping assets directly, we have a lot of use cases where instead of swapping, you can go stake directly. And by this, like everybody knows, like WST and all those yield-bearing assets could have better execution by using other alternatives. And hence, um, to give the best pricing to the users, we are checking the swap price and also the price that you're giving with different shortcuts. And if you offer the best price, we go through Enso.
That's a very
Right.
great way to explain it. So what I understand that you just said is that when you do the flash loan, there's always a need to go from one token to another token, and then sometimes a
Exactly.
swap from a DEX pool is not the most efficient, and there will be other DeFi actions to achieve the same outcome but with better efficiency, i.e., you get more of the output token. Perhaps we could elaborate on that. This is an open question to either Nana or Kamel. In what cases would this be would this be relevant? So because from what the end user knows is that most likely if I want token A to token B, I'll just go to DEX or I'll go to the SEX. So what do you exactly mean by different DeFi actions, and maybe give some examples and why it can turn out to be more efficient?
So Kamel,
Okay, I can go.
yes.
We can get the WS, or like, for example, you can get into a loop called, I don't know, WSR USD to USDC, which is like one where indeed like multiple actions are needed. Like, so if you go like on like, first you need to unwrap WSR USD to SR USD. So this one, instead of doing it, like Enzo can do the unwrapping for us. And then you want to go from SRUSD to RUSD. And on this one, if you try to go on the DEX, the liquidity is very low or even not existing. So if you go through KyberSwap, for example, or any other DEX aggregator, you will get either a shitty execution or no execution at all. So this is where Enzo go from the yield bearing to the native RUSD. And then you need to go to USDC, and you're also like a DEX aggregator. So then you get this RUSD and you see how to swap it back to USDC. So like for us, all this abstraction is taken away by Enzo, and we ensure that we get the best price for the user.
I see, I see. Yeah, many people ask us all the time, okay, they understand Enzo as being intent based, but what the heck is intent based, right? So I think this is a very good example. It means like I don't care what you do as long as you get me from A to B. Whatever that happens in the middle, you find the best way. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So moving on. Nana, did you have anything to add?
To this topic, not really. Let's move on.
Okay, sure. Yeah, moving on. So usually for our builders demo, we try to give a live show of what our partner protocol is. Mitch, did you say previously that you had something prepared?
Yeah, we can see, I think, live what we're just talking about. So let's see if I can share this. Should be happening. Yes. Right. So this is the Contango app, right? It looks like a trading interface because that's what we do. We do looping and we kind of frame it in a trading way. On the top here, you can select a pair, and just to showcase what we do with Enso, I think we can select like one of these special pairs, like Super OETH against ETH. So this is an LSD related to ETH, and what we're doing here is we're going long on this pair. So we're betting on the spread. We're trying to collect the spread between the two. Just as an example, I'll set my margin here with some ETH, drag the leverage up a little bit, and when I review my trade, I can see all the details of my trade, the size, my margin, my leverage, mark price, and liquidation price. And here, since a swap needs to happen, you will see, let me zoom out a little bit. You can see that this swap is routed through Enso because Enso is handling all this in the back end. So you got a green check mark, meaning this is really the price you're quoted for the swap. And yeah, you can proceed and submit the trade. It's as simple as this. As we said, Enso is one of the many aggregators we have to provide. This is the goal that we want to have. It's to provide the best execution to traders because looping is a long-term game on a lot of pairs. So traders are very sensitive to fees, all this kind of stuff, especially executions. And on the spot, we want to have the best price for traders.
How would you say that your special method of doing leverage compares with other perplexes?
Good question. So as I said at the beginning, looping always existed in DeFi, and we were not the first to use this, let's call it technology in the backend, like DeFi Saver, InstaDApp, or even some money markets have their own looping platform. I think what's special about Contango is that we take it a step further and we frame it as a trading app, right? We also come from a like TradFi background, so what we're used to think in terms of mark price, liquidation price. We want to see all these indicators like P&L. And normally, like looping interfaces in DeFi are very clunky. They always talk in terms of loan to value or health rate, and like for even for basic users, sometimes it's hard to grasp this concept. Like, what is my health ratio? What is a loan to value? Like, I don't understand these things. Like, you have to educate yourself, go on Avid Docs, read about it. Whereas since the past few years, we've seen an emergence of trading apps and even outside of crypto, right? Everybody might have some Robinhood on their phone and seeing charts is what people like. So let's make it, in our assumption, way easier for users to, yeah, trade assets in DeFi. That's the end goal, like make things easier.
Okay. Okay. So next question also for Contango. So the idea that everybody knows of looping and leverage and flash loans is the normal way of doing swaps. Um, when was it that you discovered that it could be more efficient by using DeFi actions, and how did that lead you to discover Enzo? Tell us more, unpack about how the relationship between Contango and Enzo, how it blossomed from past to present.
Good question. I don't know, Kamel, do you remember how we got in touch with Enzo?
You discovered it by like mistake or something.
Is
No, 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 I'm getting our chat and I'm trying to find the first message.
Is,
are you sure it wasn't over beer?
might be because
No, to be fair there, I think we got an intro through a protocol that was using you. Or through no, I think it's the other way around. I think it's when you came with your first product, you were reaching out to several DeFi protocols, which were like bonding actions in DeFi, and I think that from there we try out your product, and then it solved a lot of hassles for us, and we immediately integrated it through the Balmy SDK. I think that's the story behind it, but I cannot bet a finger on it.
Okay, okay, yeah, very interesting. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I would like to follow up on this. So like when you started actually using Enso, what was it for you as devs that you sort of had the most value from? Like was it the effort of integration or access to the protocols and actions and so supports? What was the key thing that you as that team liked about it?
But the most obvious answer to that is that we go live with a lot of different products as soon as possible. And it was the moment where LSTs were popping all around. And for us, it's not our core business to go on each new protocol and see how you can mint a token or how you can get the wrapped version or anything like that. And it was really good for us to know that you were around because we could have one standard solution to take care of all these parts on the tech side. So yeah, it was really a natural fit.
Awesome,
Is
awesome.
there any indicator that you follow to decide on what is the next trading pair that you are going to list?
Usually we really look at the liquidity on the underlying money market, like sustained liquidity on the borrowing side. Obviously, the bigger is your pool, the more stable are the rates, and also we look at the DEX liquidity to make sure that the price impact is minimized, or it's like trading pairs where there is decent borrowing liquidity on the money market, and then we can use tools like Enso to get the tokens.
Okay. So for end users, do they actually come to Contango with the purpose of saying, okay, I want to do a flash loan? I don't think so, right? Because this is all at back end. Or are they more focused on, okay, I want to trade, and it doesn't matter how, but I just want some leverage.
But usually people come to us because they want looping and they want one-click looping, meaning that they don't have to do all the manual steps involved. And as a user, they want to be ensured to get the best price when they enter or when they exit a position, right? And because we integrate like meta aggregator, Balmy, and tools like Enso, they're ensured to get this best price. So they do not have to look around by themselves. And yes, as you said, also like using a flash loan directly through Contango is definitely more cost effective than trying to do all the steps manually.
Interesting. So do you see that this flash loan leverage has become more popular in recent days because of like stablecoin campaigns and all that? Like, are they contributing to it, or is there already just organic demand from normal trading?
Yeah, if you go on our Dune dashboard, you will see that some assets come and go. Like we always like to say that no matter what, um, let's say that narratives comes and go, but looping stay. Um, what really worked for us was at the start, like all those WSTEs, WEEs trading, which are really like still the biggest open interest that you can find on the platform. But obviously, we got a lot of interest on PT trading. Like this asset class is something that people want to loop on, which is indeed also supported by Enso. And then there is definitely all these fuzz about the new stablecoin. So SR-USD, RUSD is our most traded instrument, third most traded instrument, sorry. And then you would find like more instrument like syrup, USDC, USDC, um, and some old school pairs like SUSDE is still doing like really good volume and open interest for us. So you really like we observed like the shift on yield bearing stable coin, which obviously are a prime case for looping on Contango.
I see, I see. Okay, let's move on to audience questions. So the first question that we have here is from, okay, it's a fun question. What is the maximum leverage that you can go on Contango? What have you seen the maximum that you have done so far? Can you go up to 100 times?
Not to 100x, but you can go up to 50x. So just to recap here, leverage on Contango depends on the loan to value that you have on the money market, on the underlying money market. So for example, I don't know, 82.5% loan to value is, I think, around 5x, something like that. So when Contango started, you could trade, of course, less pairs than what we have now. I think right now we have 300 pairs. At the beginning, we just had, I don't know, ETH, USDC, WBTC, USDC, and a bunch of blue chip loops. And the leverage there was quite small. You could get 5x, 6x. But then in recent months and years, for example, integrating Fluid, which has higher, like a better loan to value, allowed us to increase leverage even on blue chip pairs like ETH and WBTC. But to the example I was saying right now, if I remember correctly, it's exactly SR USD RUSD. I don't remember by heart. I need to check. Yeah, you can see here we have around 50x on this pair from Reservoir, which is again our third most looped asset. But if we go back to what I was saying, like a basic ETH USDC pair, you can see leverage kind of changes depending on the money markets, but stays around like 4x, 5x, maybe Fluid here. I think it's ETH USDC, like regular ETH USDC. If I remember correctly,
You already passed Fluid. I saw it in your list. It's the
yeah,
fourth
I
one.
have it here. Base Fluid, yeah, it's around 6.5. But yeah, it's about like playing with the UI and see what's the best fit for you. Yeah, even higher leverage here on mainnet for Fluid, around
I
7x.
see. Which is a good segue to another audience question. Is it that if you increase the leverage, the risk also increase, and how do you control for that?
Is it that if you increase leverage, the risk increase? That's the question.
Does risk increase with leverage, and if so or if not, how do you control risk?
Yes, risk increases because you're borrowing more, so you have a higher debt, and of course, a higher debt is always riskier for you because you're paying interest on a bigger quantity, right? Um, as I said, the leverage on Contango depends on the underlying money market, on the loan to value on the underlying money market. But because we care about our users, we added a buffer right at the end to avoid, nasty surprises. If you're a degen and decide to open a max leverage, you won't open right at the edge of liquidation on the underlying money market because otherwise we would get a lot of complaints, right? People would be degens, they would open like at max leverage, and if the price moves quickly, then we get liquidated and complain to us. So we didn't want that. We didn't want people to complain and get liquidated. So we added a small buffer around I forgot the number here. Maybe Kamel, I think it's around 2%, but depends on the pair as well. And yeah, that's it. I don't know if you have anything else to add, Kamel. Yeah, but very important to.
No, I think it makes sense. But also on the managed risk, like there is I think there are at least like two reasons for which you get liquidated. One is because the price moves against you, like this is on ETH USDC, for example, as a trading pair. But if you enter on a correlated asset such as I don't know, SUSD EDI, um, the price movement is less of a concern, especially if you use something called a fundamental oracle, which like doesn't respond on price um, the price between the two assets. So the main reason for which we get liquidated is because your borrowing costs or your borrowing rate is starting to be above your bearing rates. So I invite anyone trading on correlated assets to know their oracles. There are like really good articles around, especially from DeFi Dojo, and this should limit your risk of liquidation.
And also to add something that probably we didn't mention, but it's super key. We don't handle liquidations. Like all liquidations happen on the underlying money market, and liquidations on money markets are tough. Like the penalties are high. So uh, we really want everybody to be aware of this, to monitor their position frequently, and make sure they don't get liquidated, because liquidations are not super nice in DeFi. They're not like super efficient. So again, buffer here.
So put a stop loss.
Yeah, put a stop loss.
On correlated asset, put a stop loss, so this way you do not get liquidated by the money market.
I
So
see.
don't do what I do with my test positions, where I always get liquidated.
Okay. Okay, next question from the audience is to Enzo for Nanette to take. So recently you have introduced cross-chain. Now the audience would like to know if bridging is possible with SDK or API.
Yeah. Okay. So I assume that part recently introduced cross-chain is referring to the cross-chain widget. So there's like the widget, which is a standalone app, but also like a React component you can put into an interface, and it lets people bridge assets and even insap into vaults on the target bridge. With the bridging action happening, when it comes to implementing bridging on your own, it is possible via the SDK and the API, but it's necessary to use the bundle. So all the convenience of automated routing with the Route API, the bridging is not possible with that. So you would need to have your own specific steps, but it's just a slightly more complex call. And of course, there is a little possibility to add a fee action that would actually represent a fee that the user would pay for the bridging. So yes, it is possible, and there is not a comprehensive guide on doing that yet. I'm ironing some stuff out, and it will come out in a few.
Yeah, Nana does really good tutorials and videos. Keep a watch out, follow our socials, follow Enzobill, and also follow Contango for all the latest news. And speaking of latest news, that's the end of our audience questions. Moving to close, let's end with the future roadmap. What is coming in the near term that users can expect? Maybe we can start with Nana.
Yeah, so near term, of course, Enso always has a bunch of integrations that are coming in. The best way to keep an eye on those is actually through the changelog on the docs. Like weekly, even we have a bunch of those. I just put them out there in a bi-weekly manner. There's integrations with some new networks coming up and some exciting protocols. And I don't know. Maybe we should keep that a little secret until until we can post about it publicly.
Yeah, we usually do a roundup of a summary of all the integrations, but for people who want alpha, you can just look through our docs, do some API calls, and maybe some alpha will appear if you don't want to wait for our summary. Yeah, so moving on to Contango, what's next? What's exciting for you right now? What's next in the upcoming months that users can look forward to?
Yes, we're working on Contango V3, which is a big bucket of different functionalities. First, we have like everything related to the non-custodial bit of Contango. We're going to offer looping where the loops stay directly on your wallet, meaning that you're going to be able to see your borrowing and lending position on the money market directly on your wallet. Which means that Contango does not hold your position anymore. So there is no more smart contract risk after entering your position. And we are to achieve that through account abstraction. And obviously, account abstraction opens the big door for better UX and easier onboarding. So there is like a lot of work on the user experience to give really like a sex experience. Then we have a really big chunk on the spot execution spots. So this is why we want to improve looping execution. Obviously, we are working also on fallbacks. So if you do not get a better pricing through the Contango swaps, you will still be able to access the best rate in DeFi through our meta aggregator and our collaboration with Enso. And as a byproduct of the swap engine, we're gonna provide way bigger automation. Really, like we're gonna be able to offer you loops at a constant coverage, which is a feature that has been asked for. We're gonna be able to offer you TWAPs to be able to handle your big size in the optimal way. We're gonna be able to offer you very like specific features that we're gonna be the only one to offer, such as automation on rates. So, for example, if the borrowing rate is becoming bigger than the bearing rate, then you decide to reduce your position in an automated fashion. There are many other features that we're going to communicate on later in the coming months, but I believe that gives you a really good overview of what we're cooking at the moment.
That's great. That's great. So, for users who are listening right now, be sure to follow EnzoBuild and Contango underscore XYZ on Twitter. We also have a Telegram group for builders in which, if you have any problem in your code, feel free to come and ask us. We have people in the group chat 24/7 who's always able to answer your questions. We are always happy when people want to try our shortcuts. There's been a lot of interest recently, especially as we have just launched two widgets. The first one being a migration widget where users can deposit or migrate positions to Uniswap V4. And it just happens also that there's a campaign going on when there are points being given out for that. And the second widget that we released, which is what the audience asked previously, is our cross-chain widget, where you are able to do swaps and DeFi actions through this widget. It is also available for customization and to embed in your dApp, whatever you're building. Please feel free to check out our docs and also ask us in the TG group. And that's all. We have come to the end of our podcast for this episode. Any last questions from Nanat, Mitch, or Kamal? Any last words before we end?
Not right at the top of my head, but it's been fun. Like I've seen a lot of people engaging in the chat. That's nice.
All right. Okay, so thank you everybody for your time. Thanks, Nanat. Thanks, Mitch. And thanks, Kamal, for being here. Thanks to our backend friends, Nicole and Leonie, who has organized all this and put it together so nicely. And most importantly of all, thank you to all the audiences who have come to support us. We wish you a good day ahead, and that's all for today. Take care.